Morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Vicki, did you get a message that it was recording?
Yes, I did. And I had
Perfect.
to hit continue.
Perfect. Hi, Mrs. Lenhart. It's good to see you.
Hey, good morning. How are you?
Good. Great. I haven't seen you or talked to you in a while. It's nice to see you.
Yeah, absolutely.
How's Ethan doing?
He's doing good.
Good.
Yeah.
Hi, Sherry.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
I wish we were in person.
Me too. Me too.
I'm much
Kind of
more
awkward when you're
animated.
just looking at a camera.
I know. I'm so much more fun in person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good morning.
Morning.
And y'all are going to record me eating? That's awesome. Ursula, I think you're muted.
Yes, that would be helpful. I think that's going to be our saying for the year. I think you're muted. Good morning, Mark. A lot of parents asked to have this meeting recorded. So that's why we're doing that. They couldn't make it. So we had a lot of interest in that. So that's really good too.
Good. I'm gonna mess with my virtual background. Let me see if I can get it right.
I'm going to give us another 3-4 minutes. So morning, Melody.
Hello, hello. Hi, Miss Sherry.
Hi, Melody.
Good to see you.
Good to see you too. I wish we were in person. I just told Ursula. We'd be like, ah. So excited about our 5th graders. It's like the most fun ever.
Wow, look at all these. I didn't even know they had these.
Mark. I like it.
I just do not.
I'm going to give it just a couple more minutes because usually by 8:05 we have the majority here. So, and then we'll start. Maybe even before 8:05. So let's see. Okay, I think I'll go ahead and get started. So we have a great group here today. So welcome to our March Pastries with the Principal. It's transition to middle school, which is always a great topic for this time of year and generates a lot of interest. I know in the past we've had Sherry out to visit, and now we're having Mark here today in a different circumstance. Normally we have pastries and coffee and we meet in the cafeteria. Today it looks a little different, but hopefully you have a cup of coffee or some tea with you to enjoy this next hour. So thank you all for coming. We are recording because we did have a lot of interest around this particular pastry. So then I can share the recording with our 4th and 5th grade families. So without taking any more time, I'd like to introduce, of course, my vice principal, Mrs. Huddleston, is always right here by my side. So she's always behind the scenes and in the scenes with me. So I'm grateful to her. And then I have 2 very wonderful counselors. Melody Pena is our full-time counselor, and Vic Sills splits her time between us and Ellison, but she is our 5th grade counselor this year. So we're very lucky to have them both here today. And they have prepared a presentation, and I'm going to turn it over to them in just a minute. But really the highlight here today is our 2 principals. So Owie is really split between Rawlinson Middle School and Garcia Middle School. And so both principals are phenomenal. Sherry Morales, welcome. She is the principal at Rawlinson, and she and I started at the same time. And we just have a really great bond, a really great connection. And we love that we share so many of our families together. And then Dr. Mark Lopez, he's at Garcia. I've known Mark as well. He's amazing, lots of energy. So you're going to get to have a chance to ask them any kinds of questions at the end of the presentation. So without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Vicki and Melody.
All right, I am going to share my screen. Hopefully you guys see it. Give me a thumbs up if you see the share screen. Awesome. Okay, very good. And when Ursula said energy, both principals have a lot of positive energy. So they get the students really excited about coming out there too. So look forward to that. They are both a lot of fun and a lot of high positive energy. I appreciate that in them. So, all right. So your baby is going to middle school next year. They're all grown up and flying away from Owie to wherever they're going, Rawlinson, Garcia. I know some are going to other schools like TMI or other ones like that too. So regardless, this is all really important information for them. So let's start by thinking about opportunities that you might have to help your child be successful when they go off to middle school. Now, of course, let me preface this by saying everything we're going to say is under the assumption that things might kind of get back to normal next year. So I won't be saying in COVID this or normal that. We're just going to assume next year we're going to be a little bit more normal than this year was. So there are possible school field trips coming up in the spring. We just heard some news yesterday for some, but I don't want to say too much because we're in the planning phases of that. So that's a good way for students to go get a look at the physical campus. And if they haven't already, if they don't have older siblings who have gone to Rawlinson or Garcia and they haven't seen the campus, that school field trip's a really exciting thing for us to do. So that's a possibility in the spring that we might do that. That is during the school day and they go on the bus. So again, more information to come on that. Also, when school begins in August before school, there might be a student orientation night where the parents and students can go on campus, have a look at the kids' schedule, walk the schedule, meet teachers, things like that. And then, of course, I have a tile. My counselor tile is in Schoology. And within that tile, I do have a middle school folder. So if you haven't had a chance to check that out yet, go look at that because I put information that I get from the middle schools on important dates, elective information, AVID information if it's a campus doing that, all different kinds of information. I try to post it there so you have one place that you could go to get information. But obviously, if you have a specific question that you can't find in there, you can email myself, victoria.sills@nisd.net, because I am the fifth grade counselor and I've been the one scheduling your kiddos and working on little things like that. We just wrapped up our third rotation of our middle school talks within our guidance classes. So if your child has come home talking a little bit more about middle school, that's why. It's kind of been in the forefront of our mind because that's what I've been having discussions with them about. And within that guidance class, we talk about everything about, schedules, how your schedule is going to look different, how all these things are going to change next year, but also how some things are going to be similar. So some similarities between elementary and middle school, of course, we still require good attendance, no tardies if possible, good behavior. And they do still get books and materials, but a lot of books are digital now, and some books the teacher keeps within their classroom. So don't think they're going to have a textbook for every single class that they get in that they're going to have to lug around. We try to make it manageable for them. Assignments are still expected to be turned in on time, but makeup work is allowed if you're absent, of course. We follow the same handbook, the district handbook between elementary and middle school. Luckily, progress reports are sent home. You're going to find this very important in middle school to look at those because you do have so many different teachers to communicate with, keep in contact with, keep track of. So you are going to get those progress reports so you kind of get a look at where their grades are in the middle of the 9-week grading period. And yes, they have a 9-week grading period as well. It's still important for them to sleep, exercise, eat right, and be ready to go every single day at school. And the same with elementary. They have a principal, vice principal, counselors, teachers, a nurse, all those people there to help out the kiddos. So differences you're going to find, obviously the bell schedule and the amount of teachers are probably the two biggest things. A lot more moving parts and things to keep track of, but luckily within their advisory class, they are taught how to organize themselves, how to keep an organization binder. So their hand is held in that beginning phase of getting used to all these different moving parts that they have to keep track of. They are able to choose where they eat in the cafeteria. They're very excited about that. I will tell you right now, that's one of the most exciting things for the kids. Like, we could eat wherever we want. And if they bring a lunch from home, that they could actually eat outside of the cafeteria in the little courtyard area. That's really different. And the kids are excited about that. The times are going to change. So remember, elementary is the first to start the school day. So in middle school, the current hours are 8:40 and then they end at 3:50. They do get a choice of an elective, and we have already worked on their schedules and submitted their schedules. So that has been entered into the system. Let me tell you, I have gotten some requests for schedule changes already. And I've been working with the middle school counselor to take care of those. But now I've put it in my Schoology and you can take care of that yourself. So within that middle school folder I mentioned in my Schoology tile, the first thing you'll see in the middle school that you select is a request for schedule change. So if for some reason your child changes their mind on their elective or whether they want PE or dance, you can go in there and change it yourself now. But again, if you ever need any help, I'm still here to help you for that if it's too confusing. All right, they also have 8 class periods and 7 teachers. The reason for the 7 is because English language arts is actually 2 class periods. They have a chance for tutoring. This is a really great thing. I love it. I loved it when my own 2 kids started in middle school, and it carries on through high school, that if they're struggling in a subject area, they can go to tutoring before school or after school. I think it's still before and after school, and get the help that they need from teachers in that subject area. They really need to take advantage of that. If they have a test grade that they want to change because they failed, they go get tutoring, and then they go back and they can retake that test. So they have a lot of opportunities to bring grades up if they're struggling in an area, or get extra help if they're struggling. Even if it's not just for one of the test grades or something, they can just go get that extra help that they need. Some fun things, there is not a chance for them to sign up to play a sport in 6th grade, but they do in the spring after school have 6th grade intramurals, which is where they just dabble in lots of sports, get to know the coaches and things like that. It's more like a club type thing. It's not something built into their schedule. Some other fun things, there might be school dances again next year. There are definitely clubs. I have told the kids, I wonder if you were to ask your child, what is the best way for you to meet other kids who have something in common with you? I hope that their answer is clubs, because I've tried to drill it into their head that joining clubs is the easiest way for you to get to know kids that are like you. If you join the gardening club, you are going to meet other kids who like gardening. That's going to be a really easy way to make friends, because some kids are a little more shy. They might not be outgoing and talk to kids in their class. But if they join a club, boom, you have an instant set of friends that you have something in common with. And so I'm really encouraging them to, when you start in the fall, get to know what clubs are there and join at least one. Just try one. And if you don't know if you'll like it, just try it. And then if you don't like it, you're not committed to it. You don't have to stay. Lockers, we've been talking about combination locks. I've encouraged the students to ask you guys if you could purchase a combination lock they could practice on, possibly. We know it won't be the same lock or the same number, and we don't know if there will be lockers, but if there are, they need those combination locks. And if they're in band, they might also have a band locker. And then 7th and 8th grade, if they're in sports, they might have a sports locker as well. So regardless, it's good for them to practice that combination. In addition to the admin that we have at elementary, middle school adds on a few more. They have an assistant principal, an academic dean, and they also have a counselor secretary. So if you can't get hold of the counselors, at least you have one more person that you could reach out to if you have questions about scheduling or anything else. And the counselor secretary will be sure to relay any messages to the counselors as well. All right, so let's talk about some things that your child can do to help them feel more comfortable. They're feeling pretty excited. I would say when I have them vote, like, how are you feeling about it? You know, I feel great about it. I'm so about it, or I'm really nervous. Most of them are feeling so or really great. They're excited because we're trying to give them the tools that they can be successful, and we're trying to relay the message to let them know that there's lots of people there to help you too. I think a lot of them are under the assumption like, oh no, I have to be completely independent and figure it all out on my own when I get to middle school. That is not the case. And I'm letting them know that is not the case. You have even more people to help you because you have all these teachers, your counselor's the best go-to person. They know everything about everything. And admin is there to help you too, just like they are here. So they're feeling more and more comfortable the more we have those conversations. But some tips, if they have an older sibling or an older friend who has been through middle school, have them ask them questions. They can talk from a student perspective. I tell them it's been quite a while since I've been in middle school. Lots of things have changed. So talk to an older sibling or peer that has been through it and ask them what their experience was. Try to stay calm and polite. And maybe even the first day or two, go with a friend or stay with people you already know. Especially at lunch, I tell them to make a plan before you go into that cafeteria the first day of lunch, because you might be stumped and they're saying, okay, find a seat, and you can't find your friends. And it's a bit chaotic sometimes because you're not used to being able to just free seat. And so if you make a plan ahead of time on where to meet your friends and where to sit, then it'll be a little bit smoother transition during lunch. Also, they can just kind of go out of their comfort zone a little bit, ask questions to friends that are sitting in class with them. Get to know people, kind of put yourself out there. I tell them the best way to get to know people is to ask questions about them. So, hey, what elementary school did you go to? What do you like to do? Are you joining a club? Things like that. They just have to kind of put themselves out there and be friendly. But try to keep your mind on school too. I mean, that is the main reason you're there, on school, on the organization, keeping track of your homework, not getting behind, and things like that. Obviously, if you're on your best behavior, that's going to give you the best chance to be successful in class and staying out of trouble. Study the floor plan if you can ahead of time, if you have it, or just at least when you go to that orientation, study your pattern. Like, okay, where do I go next? And then this is the best way to walk and get there. And, you know, if lockers are in play, I tell the students, sometimes students choose not to even have a locker because you don't have to carry much stuff. And it's just one more place you have to go in a very small time limit to switch from class to class. So they have options. So they need to figure out what works best for them. If you do get lost though, ask someone for help. You can ask a student, where's this class, or a teacher. The teachers are all going to be in the hall helping the students get to where they need the first few weeks of school, because it will be confusing, but there will be lots and lots of people there to help out. Getting to school on time is key. You don't want to start the beginning of your day behind the power curve already. So if you get to school on time, you aren't rushed, you aren't frazzled, you know where you need to be, you get there and you're ready to go for the day. Obviously, listen to the teachers. Listen to the teachers for details about things that might be happening in the day. There's still announcements in middle school. Make sure you pay attention to that. And obviously, in addition to that, like on the website, on the school website, they have a lot of updates and things that you can check out as well. This one, don't act big or mess with other people. So sometimes if kids are shy, they overcompensate and try to be like, hey, look at me, you know, just kind of blend in the first few weeks anyways. And then your real personality can come out, and we just don't want to be too big too soon and make ourselves unapproachable or anything. We want to be kind, make ourselves approachable so we could get to know as many people as we possibly can, including our teachers, because the teachers really love to get to know the kids. And, you know, it's easy to say, don't think about getting scared or worried. But what I want to say with that is, remember any strategies that you've been taught if you are getting worried about it. Remember, take deep breaths. Remind yourself you've got this. Remind yourself who you can go to if you need help. And obey the rules and just try to relax. It's a lot, but they've been given the tools. We've watched a lot of videos about what to expect, and they are pretty excited. I know they'll be a little nervous, but excited as well. And that's not such a bad thing. So all right, Miss Pena.
Hi. So I want to say that that's the best advice I've ever heard. Don't act too big too soon. I wish I had that advice before I went into middle school. I think. Anyway, sorry. I just love that. So I have been out of the 5th grade counselor game for a couple of years because Miss Sills has naturally with her grade levels been in that assignment. So I'd have to say that the 5th grade transition piece is probably the part I miss the most. I don't miss the 5th grade drama so much, but the transition piece, when we get to talk to the kids about getting ready for middle school and the excitement that comes with that, even the nerves, because you know they are nervous, is probably the best part of being a 5th grade counselor, getting to just open their eyes to what is ahead for them and how really exciting middle school can be. We talk a lot about how their circle will grow. And I tell them, you know, you've been here in our little elementary bubble for so many years, and you've gotten to know some of the same teachers and faces and kids. And come about March through June, some of those faces get a little tiresome, right? We start to see some of the kids like, oh, I don't want to be with so-and-so. They're not my friend anymore. And I said, well, yeah, you've been with some of them for 6 years. It's time to expand your friendship circle. So that's one of the, you know, the exciting things that I've been missing. I will have 5th grade again next year. So, you know, I'm looking forward to that. So here's some advice that we can look over for you as parents as you are preparing your child for middle school, but also in the first few weeks, which are very important. The middle school teachers are very understanding, even up to the first 6 to 9 weeks, that middle school is a new world. So they are very helpful. And if your child forgets something, tell them not to panic. There is a grace period that they offer that is very helpful. So the first thing that we would want to remind you as a parent to do is to look over their homework assignment notebook. We were talking about that. I was like, they still get agendas, right? And the principals can talk to more of that in a little bit. But make sure that you look over it with them. Make sure that if it's a Schoology assignment next year, I'm sure that that's not quite going away yet. That you are checking with your student, making sure that those assignments are being completed in class, and if there's any homework assigned, that is getting done. That is something that, believe me, if the students just start to get behind in, it snowballs very quickly. And then you're like, all of a sudden, like, oh, wow, how do they have so many missing assignments? We need to take care of this. So instead of waiting till that point, so you can check often with them to make sure that everything's getting done. We talked about lockers and how it's important to visit those and make sure that those are organized, and backpacks, make sure that those are put together. I believe, I'm thinking back to when my oldest was in middle school, they did a lot of that during advisory, working on the organizational skills. So know that is going to be something that is continuously taught through the teachers in middle school. But as a parent, we want to make sure that that's carrying through at home. Let's see, we talked about homework, conferencing with teachers. If you notice that something's not getting done, if you notice that your student is missing assignments often in a particular class period, reach out to the teachers, whether email, remind, whatever form of contact that you choose. But also know that this is a huge time for your students to learn responsibility. And elementary, we're very good about like keeping them close, checking in. The teachers are doing that often. But middle school is the best time for them for you to kind of step back and start letting them taking that initiative. If you notice that they have a missing assignment or they got a low grade on a test, say, why don't you schedule a time to talk to your teacher about what you can do to improve this grade or what you can do to make up this assignment. As a parent, we naturally want to run to their rescue every single time. And we have to learn that they are growing and this is the time for them to make mistakes and to learn and to grow so that it becomes a natural part of their growth process and will carry with them right into high school and adulthood. Let's see, in the evening, make sure that your child is prepared. I mean, that's something that I think a lot of you guys are already doing now. It's just a reminder. Check on your child's progress. As a parent, we're really good about that, right? Once we notice that the grade isn't where we think it should be, we're gonna email that teacher right away. But like I said, encourage your students to take that initiative. I will say that I think my oldest son's 6th grade year, he was so shy. He didn't want to approach the teacher about anything. He was very nervous. But by 7th and 8th grade, it became part of his, natural process to reach out to the teacher first. And in fact, he would tell me, Mom, please don't email my teacher. Let me take care of it. So that's a good thing, right? We want them to grow. Go ahead, Miss Sills. I don't know if I have. Thank you. Okay. Make sure you are talking to your child. I think as parents, we get scared, right? Our kids are no longer at OWI. They're no longer in one spot. They're no longer with the neighbors. They're getting mixed in with students from other elementary schools. And what are they going to learn? What are they going to be exposed to? But the thing is, it starts at home, right? The conversations start at home. You're teaching them what you believe, asking them questions daily, asking them, what was your favorite part of today? Or what was, the worst part of today? Or what area are you working on? Just make sure that there is constant conversation going on. We know that, middle school, high school, kids start to withdraw, right? They don't want to talk to you. They want to be in their room. They want to have their alone time. But make that effort to talk to your kids. You're going to establish your values with them, your beliefs, your your core values when you talk to them, when you model that for them. Make sure that that's continuously happening. Like I said, I talked to the kids about how your circle is this big in elementary, in middle school it gets bigger, and in high school it gets even bigger. And some kids are worried, well, maybe I don't quite fit in with circle of friends here in elementary school. Well, guess what? You're going to have a whole new group of friends that you get to meet in middle school. And you know, maybe you felt like you were shyer in elementary school. Guess what? You're going to meet other kids that are shy just like you, and you'll kind of see that they tend to gravitate towards each other, and that's a good thing, right? They're getting exposed to more personalities and having a chance to make friends with people that are not just here in their immediate surroundings. They're, you know, kind of spread apart. So listen to what your child has to say. Listen to them when you're having dinner, and listen to them. I like to try to schedule one-on-ones with my kids. I have 4, so that can be kind of challenging, but we go to Starbucks or we go for ice cream, and that's their time with mom, just to kind of tell me what's going on in their life and their world. And I really appreciate that time because it keeps that connection, and it keeps that relationship going. And then make sure you kindle a desire in your child to ask for your opinion. We know that as they get older, they regard our opinion less and less. But if you start establishing that now, the hopes are is that they're going to continue to go to you for advice, continue to go for you and seek out your opinion and what your thoughts are on certain matters. And then just helping your child put it all together at the center. You know, you're here at the center, that your kids are going to grow. They're going to have their own interests for careers. Eventually, they're going to branch out. There's going to be family. There's going to be peers. There's going to be school influences. But just remember, it starts with you here at home, and establishing those values, establishing that open communication will always start there at the center. Go ahead. All right, that was kind of quick. Oh, whoops, sorry, I forgot one more. Go ahead. Click on it. And just remember, constantly affirm your child. It's important to, you know, encourage them and talk to them in positive ways, but don't just focus on, hey, like that was a great math. Like you did really great in math. I'm so proud of you. You are a math whiz. Don't just focus on performance. Focus on character. If they're not doing so well in math, just say, you know what, I know you're trying hard. I know you're doing your best. I know you're giving it your all, and that is what I expect from you. And just, you know, constantly be positive and encouraging in that sense. All right, now I'm done because I know the real stars of today are our principals. So do you want to stop sharing the screen, Ms. Sill, so that we can kind of see faces, or at least
Yes,
see
ma'am.
virtual hands raised if you guys have any questions for us, but most importantly for our principals who have taken their time today to be with us and answer any questions you might have that might relate specifically to their school.
All right, then I know that they did have a little bit to say. So Ms. Silberschlag, were you about to say
Yes.
something?
Yeah, I was going to say, maybe I can invite Sherry and Mark to say a few words or add to anything, and that might generate some questions as they're talking. So Sherry or Mark, I'd love to have you guys say a little bit about yourselves and your wonderful campuses.
Dr. Lopez, would you like to go first, or would you want you want me to go first? Well, hello everyone. Sherry Mireles, principal at Rawlinson Middle School. We will be going into our 4th year, or my 4th year at Rawlinson next year, which is super exciting. It is an amazing place to be. It really, really is. I am thrilled to meet your daughters and your sons. I love when they come up from 5th to 6th. I was a 6th grade teacher, 7th grade teacher, and 8th grade teacher for years, but 6th grade was my all-time favorite age group, probably because they're still so moldable and they are super nervous, and it's like so fun. You know, by the time your little human becomes an 8th grader, they're gonna be so different. Trust me, I have an 8th grader. So it's real difficult. It's amazing, but it's wow to see that change. And I'm sure Mark and I speak, we're going to have a lot of similarities in our campuses. We talk often, we collaborate often. And, you know, I can say that in middle school is like the most fun time. It's also one of the more quirky times and more scary times for parents, I think. Kids right away will be a little apprehensive, but trust me, after about, I don't know, October, they are all in. They are middle school. They are loving it. They are all about it. You know, you can really feel the energy in our sixth grade hallways. We do have a sixth grade hallway, so does Garcia. And I'm not going to speak for Garcia, but it's hard because my heart was at Garcia too. I worked there for many years, and so I know it well. But yes, we do keep them, not because, you know, seventh and eighth graders are big and scary, but really just because it helps with just like the navigation of children and that whole like passing period thing. And, you know, our campuses are much larger. And so, you know, it really helps, especially at the beginning of the year, but they will have classes in other parts of the building. You know, I could go on and on about Rawlinson. I will tell you that, you know, we are active on social media. So like on Twitter, we have a Twitter page. We also have an Instagram, and then our PTA runs our Facebook page, and we have a very active PTA as well. And so if there's certain things you just want to peruse, sort of what a day in the life of Rawlinson looks like just off the bat, I would really encourage you to get on social media and just sort of see, because we probably post almost daily, if not 3 times a week. So it's real quick. You can see kind of all of the things that are happening here. We like to have a lot of fun. We like to have a high energy, because you got to have high energy if you work with 10, 11, 12, 13, and 14-year-olds. You got to be on it. You got to keep up with them. But yes, it is a wonderful place to be in terms of instruction. And then I'm going to pass the baton to Mr. Lopez, Dr. Lopez. We have really high standards at Rawlinson, very, very high expectations of our students, because our students come to us, they're just sponges. They have been exposed to amazing educators. They come to us knowing so much. We love to bring what they've got and take it to the next level. However, I do want to emphasize they're going from 1, 2 teachers to maybe 7 teachers, right? We have 8 periods, but we have 7 teachers in 6th grade. And that can be sort of, whoa, right? Overwhelming, the personalities, getting to know expectations. But I do want to say we do have a 6th grade program. So our 6th grade teachers are handpicked. They are chosen for a reason, because they get it, right? They get that 5th to 6th transition. And so they really work together to put certain things in place so that kids aren't feeling like, oh my gosh, you know, this teacher expects this and this teacher expects this, and they have 7 different expectations. That can be extremely overwhelming, especially going from 5th to 6th just overnight. So they get that. And so they have similarities put together, they work together. And so that'll help you a whole lot. And you'll see that with those similarities when your child transitions. And so again, I could go on and on. Typically we do this where we're at the school and we do like a little presentation and we talk through details, but I know that's not what this forum is today. So we will have a camp, and we'll give you more information about that this May 24th, 25th, or 26th. And then we will have prep days and orientation, and all of that is in early August. So please stay tuned to, you know, more information there in your emails. And then we do call outs to send that information to you as well. Thanks.
Yay, Sherry. Good morning, everybody. My name is Mark Lopez. I'm the principal at Garcia, and I'm really excited to be here with you this morning. I felt that the presentation that Aoi did was fantastic. It was a great, great presentation. Sherry and I joke all the time when we talk because I say, Sherry, I think you're me, but you're just a female version of me. We always joke around. So yes, a lot of similarities between Rawlinson and Garcia. Sherry is a fantastic principal at a fantastic campus, and she gives me a lot of great ideas. So a lot of things she does, I do, and so we copy each other a lot, and I think that's important, especially when you have two feeder campuses at the same campus. A little bit about myself. I was born and raised in Northside, as they say. I went to elementary, middle school, high school, all in Northside. Um, I have three kids, and just like Sherry, I don't have an eighth grader, but I have a seventh grader. I begged her to come to school with me, and she does not want to come because her two reasons are my friends and Daddy, you're the principal. Are you kidding me? So she doesn't want to. I'm gonna still try. I think my second one. I think she'll be more. She'll probably come with me. So, but I think that's an important piece of information because I feel like as a principal here at Garcia, I treat the kids here like I would my own kids, right? I think there's a lot of care and a lot of expectations as a parent that I reflect on my staff and my students. And so we're exciting here too at Garcia. You know, lots going on all the time. All the things that Sherry mentioned, you know, games and dances and all those good things. COVID did kind of take the wind out of our sails there with a lot of the activities that we normally do, but we're trying to get back into them. And so just like Sherry, I started in elementary long time ago. I taught fifth grade science. I did a fifth grade I did a specialist class on an elementary school. And then I moved to sixth grade when I came to Northside. I also was in charge of fifth grade transition long time ago. And so, you know, we have the transition activities just like all the other campuses. We were kind of forced to do it differently this year. So we did some parent tours of our campus. We weren't allowed to have a lot of families. So I was joking with my admin team yesterday. I was like, let's be extra in some of these things we're doing at the end of the school year. And so I like things to be grand and big. And so this whole COVID thing really didn't do it for me. But we did try to have some parent tours. We're going to continue to have some of those. Those are on a Sign Up Genius. And I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, I put all the feeder, all our students who are coming to Garcia are getting our newsletter. So check that out. It's got all of our information on it, including transition dates. I mean, all sorts of stuff. So keep an eye on that. We also are looking into having some May transition activities on campus. So keep an eye out for that. We're going to do last summer, because of COVID, we did well, it's Google Classroom. We'll probably do a Schoology one, but we did a really cool sixth grade Google Classroom activities for the whole summer. We did it, including virtual town halls with admins. So I think we're going to continue doing that too. So we're going to be busy. We'll send out the information. I'm like Sherry, I could talk all morning about transition and middle school. It's a fun time. I have a middle schooler myself, so I'll just speak about her. She's seventh grade, so she's funky right now. You know, it's a funky year, but it's a great experience to see them grow. Like Sherry said, to come in as sixth graders, to see them leave as eighth graders. It's a great sight to see. So can't wait to have everybody over at Garcia. I'm gonna mute, otherwise I'll talk all day. But great to meet everybody. As always, if you have any questions or need to contact me, call me, email me. I'm always here for y'all. Thank you.
Thank you, Sherry and Mark. We really appreciate it. I don't know, maybe I'll open the floor to parents to ask any questions, but I do know that and Melody and Vicky alluded to this, is that in elementary, we're very almost sheltered and protected. And that communication with the teacher, one or two teachers, as Melody said, is real strong at OWI. Parents are very involved, as both of you know. How can they transition to sixth grade and feel a connection with the teacher? And especially if their child has any kind of struggles, whether it's an academic struggle, whether it's a social emotional struggle, and parents want to make sure that the teachers know, because now there are going to be 7 teachers. How do they make that transition? Because I think that can be one of the hardest, from what they're used to at OWI to go to middle school when it's a much bigger world. Could either of you give some tips on that?
It's funny that you mentioned that because this is my list as a mom of my daughter's teachers and my son's teachers. And I have it right here. I don't know if this is real high tech or not, but it's definitely something I've been doing since they made the transit. One's in high school, one's in middle school. When they made the transition from 5th to 6th, because it was probably one of the hardest things when you go from 1 or 2 teachers that you know you have constant contact with and a relationship with, and then you move into, oh wow, they have 7 now. So that those prep days that we have and those orientation days that we have in August are very, very important. At those, we make it really easy for you. And so when you're going to meet those teachers, you're scanning QR codes, you're giving your information immediately to those teachers. They're taking that information in and they will send out immediately who they are, bios about them, what they're doing. And so the communication from our end to you is easier, so you can kind of keep track of that. But as soon as you gather those names and those contacts, I just, I really encourage you to, however your form of keeping that organized is. I'm sure much more high tech than my hot pink Post-it right here, but just whatever that looks like for you, I just encourage you to please do that. And again, our 6th grade teachers really do correspond quite a bit. So we do give teachers time in the school day or after school to collaborate together with teams about kids, right? So they don't necessarily have all the same students, but they do have time to talk together about things, similarities, issues. Hey, maybe we need to contact parents or reach out to parents. So on our end, we do try to do everything we can to make that easier on you. The other thing that sort of changes, I think, from elementary to middle is the counselor piece. So I think in elementary school, they have a lot more kids and fewer counselors, where we have a lot more kids too, but we have 3 counselors. And so your child will be assigned a counselor, and that counselor will be with them the entire time they're in middle school. So that was sort of like there's a one human who will be with your child the entire time they're in middle school. So there's kind of like a one-stop shop. So if you feel like, okay, I can't remember that teacher's name, or I've misplaced the contacts, or it can get confusing at first, all else fails, contact that grade level counselor or your child's counselor, and they will support you in every way that they can. So that's probably the biggest switch from elementary to middle. And I can say that that is also the case when you go to high school. And I know we're not talking about high school today, but it's very similar there as well.
Yeah, I agree with everything Sherry said. The teachers are very responsive. And again, because of the situation we've been in and all the technology we use, it's even easier to communicate now. Garcia, just like Rawlinson, we have a very active social media presence. And so, a lot of the things that we do on campus go through there. Teachers are very active on social media. And just like Ms. Midela said, gathering all that information at the beginning of the year is really valuable for the teachers, because they're sitting at their desk. You can shoot them an email. I'm a parent just like Sherry. I do the same thing. I try not to, because I don't want to be like the meddlesome principal trying to get in my daughter's teacher's ears, but sometimes I have to just be parent. The other thing at Garcia that we require our teachers to send out a weekly newsletter to all the parents. And so, that's, I think, reassuring sometimes for transition, because I know that, some of the elementary school teachers, they always send out, their weekly newsletters of what's going on in their class, what to expect, this, that, and the other. And so that's another layer of reassurance are those weekly newsletters that we send out. I also send out a weekly newsletter too. So lots of newsletters to read for us.
I just want to open it up to any of our families that may have a question for either Ms. Morales or Dr. Lopez.
I'm actually a little concerned. My child, is going to be going to a much, much larger school. I guess I'm just nervous about it, being in that many students to watch at one time, her safety or whatever, you know what I mean? I'd like to know, I guess, quell my fears.
You want me to go first on this one, Ms. Mireles? So again, our teachers are required to be out in the halls, literally outside their doors during passing period. And I'm pretty sure it's like this at Rollinson also, but my admin team, no matter what happens, if we hear that bell ring, we're in the hallways. So you literally have all the adults in the hallways during passing periods, right? And so that's a lot of eyes. Another thing that I'm not sure all of the elementaries have, or they're getting them, but we have cameras everywhere on top of that. So you have all the adult eyes outside in the halls, plus you have all the cameras all over the place. There's a lot of eyeballs watching the kids. So, we do a good job of keeping them safe. We really do. And I think I, my daughter was the same. She went from elementary, 5th grade to 6th grade, and it was nerve wracking. And I think the only calming presence was me, because I've done it for almost 20 years. But they're safe. They are safe. They have a great time with their friends. We always, I've had the saying for years, hey, 6th graders, they like to run from one place to the other and then smack somebody when they get there. And it's like, so we're very aware of like how the 6th graders are, and they're a little bit more active. The 7th and 8th graders, honestly, they kind of keep to themselves. They just kind of strut down the hall and they do their thing, and then they go to class. I mean, it's, especially now, like they're pretty well adjusted to middle school. They just kind of do their thing. So we don't have a ton of problems where we're having all this crazy discipline and all these issues. So, and I think that to me, that's a reflection of all the eyeballs that are on the kids all the time. So we're very active, and we keep our eyes on them. Ms. Mireles?
Yes, I'll add to that. I mean, and I know it's the same at Garcia, but we run a tight ship, so we really don't allow. We do a lot of education up front, a lot of expectations up front, and the kids do notice right away. Just like Dr. Lopez said, we are everywhere. So I think they think there's more of us in the hallway than there probably really are. The kids just think we're everywhere. But we get it. Like, we get middle school. And so I think that 5th to 6th transition, especially for boys, they're really active and they're really excited, and and we always laugh, like they want to just run track all the time. And we're like, whoa, you're not in track yet. We're going to walk, but we show them, we literally go through like that entire first week of school. We practice. Like, okay, guys, so first period, second period, and I know Garcia does this because my kid is there as well. And so my son also, Mom, I'm staying with my friends forever. So he's at Garcia, but luckily I got a friend there. So we walk down the hallways and we say, okay, this is how we do it. We walk on the right. We literally have lines down the hallway, signs on the thing. We walk to the right, because one day you're going to have to drive on the right. Well, unless you go to Europe or other places, but you're going to be on the right. And so it's a teachable piece. We have a lot of patience, but again, we run a really tight ship because we do have 1,300 students, and I believe Garcia's around 1,600 students, or a little less. And so we get it, right? We understand what the logistics of children are. Like, I love that. I know Garcia does the very same. We put a lot of emphasis on, what does passing period look like? What do hallway, directions look like? About training the kids on where they can go and how they can go there, about placing instrumental people on purpose in certain areas around the campus. All of those things happen, and those are kind of like the internal logistical things that we work on as far as campus is concerned. But yes, the passing periods, they're, other than them being sort of loud, that's really it. I mean, the kids are just excited to talk, right? And they're walking and they're talking and they're, just, it's just a lot of fun. I wouldn't say that there's really any issues. It's just fun. I mean, we're out there. We love it. It's our chance to be like, hey guys, slow down, separate. Right now we're saying social distance, that's a new one. We never really said that. It was usually like, get to class. Now it's like, separate. Oh yeah. And then they remember, and they comply. It's not really an issue.
and we have all the same, we have the bathroom passes, we have the corridor passes. And so, a lot of our processes, not a lot of them, all of our processes are geared towards student safety. I mean, that's just what it is. And so, and this is also something new in elementary is we have a campus officer, right? And what I like about our officer is that, and all the officers I've actually ever worked with in Northside, is they just see him as another faculty member, right? And they interact with the kids and they laugh, and but at the same time keeping them safe. So lots and lots of processes geared towards student safety, and you have to have them, especially at 1300 and 1600, right? And we've gotten really good at keeping them safe every day. So I hope that helps a little bit.
It does. It does. Thank you very much.
Hey, good morning. Ursula, can you hear me?
Yes, I sure can.
Okay, good. Thanks. Good morning, everybody. And I had two more questions, but first I just wanted to say thank you so much to our OWI team for putting on, and again, another wonderful session, and for both of the principals. I know you're both used to this, and both of you have mentioned that you have your own children and you've gone through this, but you can hear the angst in especially all our moms and dads. So thank you so much, all of you. But my first question is kind of a follow on to the last question, right, about safety and just the anxiety of it. But I just want, if you could both comment a little bit about just maybe the bullying policy and how you all handle things like that. And then my second question is for, with being such large schools, what size in general are the sixth grade classrooms? If you could just answer that, I'd really appreciate it. Thank you.
I'll go first. So generally in a non-COVID world, we were looking at about 24 to less to one teacher in the classroom. Right now, we're at about, depending on the day, in our current situation, we have like 15. Some of them will go up to about 17. And that's only because not every student is in person right now. So when that comes back next year and we have more students in the building, I'm sure we'll go back up to about 23, 24 per class. What else did you ask? I'm so sorry. I heard the.
I was just asking about just kind of a segue to the bullying or anti-bullying, how you all just really help, because that's such a real thing right now amongst other things that we're facing. So.
Yes, no. Thank you so much for bringing that up. Actually, we do quite a bit of education. So it always starts with learning, right? It always starts with making sure that kids even understand, because I think sometimes they just might see something on TV, or they may hear something or be exposed to something and not even really recognize how it's affecting the other person. So we always start with that. We start early on, back to the expectations, back to running a tight ship. That's really immediate. And so our counseling team does a really, really good job of educating students early on in sixth grade about what appropriate conversation, communication, both, verbal and nonverbal looks like. And so there's a lot of pre-teaching, right, of what that looks like. And because, again, going from fifth to sixth grade, it is very common to see kids saying things and not recognizing, oh, I didn't realize that I made them feel that way. And that's all a teachable piece, right? So we have a lot of that goes on, and it's embedded into the curriculum. It's embedded into the school year, throughout the school year. But then we also have a lot of motivating things. So, and I know Garcia does the same, but we do a lot of things like what's called Patriot Power, right? And so we have what we believe are what patriots are, right? Rawlinson Patriots are these things. And so we do quite a bit of character educating on that as well. And we do caught being good, but they're not caught being good. They're caught being doing the right thing. And so we also, we nominate these students. We have awards for these students. We have them on the announcements because we want to highlight the positive things that are going on the campus, because they're happening all day, every day, right? Hundreds and hundreds of occurrences all day that are amazing that kids do. So we try not to highlight the negative things, and we really try to reteach or use those moments, those teachable moments, to help them. And so on the parent side, we do a lot of education as well. So in a typical year, we've had right away Our PTA is very involved as well. We'll bring in guest speakers. We just had a virtual guest motivational speaker last night on Zoom for all of our families, a BMX champion that spoke to our kids about he was bullied. And so that actually just happened yesterday. And it was a wonderful, wonderful presentation. We do, myself, my vice principal, my assistant principal, we do things like cyberbullying education, right? So we talk about things like what Instagram, what Snapchat, and there's partial like parent side. So we educate you guys on what that looks like and what could be happening and things that you can do to prevent it. But we also talk about to kids about because they don't recognize, right, that the stuff that they're putting on their phone or text or whatever is like forever. Like they don't recognize that. So again, educating them about when you do these things, this is what could happen. And so there's a lot that we do. A whole segment of our world is about educating kids on the social, the character piece, because we believe that that's extremely important. Yes, we're educating your child instructionally, and that is our top priority, but it's just as important as, you know, the humans that they become, the adults that they become. So we take all of that very seriously. Again, back to what Dr. Lopez said, I believe we run our campuses with the lens of a mom or a dad. So yeah.
Yeah, well said, Ms. Mireles, and not too much more to add. I mean, same thing. We layer we start with the education piece, right? Learning through our counselors. PTA for us also provides motivational speakers, and we were going to screen a movie called Angst for our parents and our kids, which was talking about anxiety in regards to bullying, those kind of things. And so same thing as Ms. Mireles over at Ronson, we layer all that together. We also have a culture piece that we include for bullying. Every single morning, you'll hear our kids on the announcements at the very end. They say, "Be a buddy, not a bully," right? And so, you know, we're trying to just kind of have them hear that over and over again on top of all the educating pieces that we do. And so, and then of course, if we do encounter any kind of bullying or those kind of things, obviously taken very seriously through our vice principal and assistant principals. A lot of that procedure is dictated by Northside of what we do. But you know, if that's something we need to investigate, then we take it very seriously. So yes, a lot of work around that on both campuses.
Great. Thank you so much. And again, really appreciate both of you sharing with us today. Thanks.
Just one quick question. Are the lunches segmented where all the sixth graders are at lunch at one time? Seventh is at 8? On particularly Rawlinson?
Yes, we have sixth grade lunch, a seventh grade lunch, and an eighth grade lunch. The only time that varies is for a couple of kids that take higher courses, sometimes like a geometry course, which is typically not offered at the middle school level, but it's a high school credit course. That one in particular, there might be a couple kids that would eat with like eighth graders that were seventh graders or eighth graders that with seventh grade, but sixth grade is completely pure.
And we're the same at Garcia, 3 different lunches. All those kids packed in there. It's kind of weird because we hadn't had it in a while. And so, you know, we're kind of getting back there. So I used to get annoyed by the roar of the cafeteria, but now I miss it. So yes, all of them in there, and same as Miss Mireles. Sometimes we have a couple kids because of geometry or whatever, but for the most part, yes, everybody's 6, 7, 8 lunches.
Lunch is their favorite part, by the way. They love it. We utilize our courtyards a lot as well. So the kids really like the courtyard.
Sherry and Mark, I have a question for both of you, and it's around monitoring of grades. Both Vicki and Melody were speaking about the transition to independence, right? And ownership on the part of our kids to take responsibility for their grades. But does a parent continue, what do you recommend? Does a parent continue to monitor their hack account and encourage their child to be proactive? I mean, that's a transition as well from 5th to 6th grade as we help our kids to be more cognizant of their grades and their performance.
Yeah, I think probably I'm going to speak for Sherry. I mean, Miss Mia's on this too, but um, from a parental side, like for myself, yeah, I still my daughter's in 7th grade. I still check her grades. It's almost like the old pick up your room. You know, like you keep telling them, you keep telling them, you keep telling them, then they sort of start getting the hang of it, and they kind of do, but you still got to tell them, you still got to tell them, and so that's really what you have to do. And then I'm going to say, and I don't know for Miss Mitos, but my daughter this year, probably in the last few months, has finally started doing it on her own. And so I'm hoping, you know, it's like one of those streaks, right? I don't want to break her streak, but I'm still going to peak, you know? And so I think just the constant reminders, I think is always important for parents as you transition, especially those 6th graders are just not used to it just yet, right? And so definitely setting up your hack account as a parent, having that handy. I have mine on my phone for my daughter. And then just encouraging. And on the other side of that, the teachers also encourage, hey, have you checked your hack account? Those advisory periods, that's part of what they do. Hey, has everybody logged in? Hey, let's all check our hack account today. We encourage the kids to put it on their phones like the adults have it, right? Because it's really convenient that way. And so what I do notice, by the time they get to 8th grade, a lot of the students are emailing the teachers, right? So my daughter now is starting to get to the point where she knows when I email the teacher, I put daddy on the email, right? Just so she covers her rear end with her daddy, but at the same time she's taking initiative. So I've seen that growth in my own daughter, and we typically see that, I think, for the most part in middle school. Ms. Mideles, you want to add?
Sure. You covered a whole lot of it. Just advocating. We do want to teach them to advocate for themselves. However, I still check my child's hack account. She's a sophomore. There I am checking it every day. Well, not every day, but a couple times a week, just to ensure. And she's pretty responsible, so I really don't have to, but I absolutely encourage parents to get a hack account if you don't have one. It is a very nifty little device to have because you have real-time information and you're able to, just kind of nudge your child a little bit if there's like a late assignment, or if there's something that you're seeing that's, hey, do you have an opportunity to, maybe retake that assignment? Maybe talk to me about that Civil War written response that you didn't do so well on, or whatever it is. I also can say that, and I know Garcia does the same thing, is we actually utilize that at advisory time. Thank you for mentioning that. Every 6th grader has an advisory time, advisory class embedded in their schedule, and it's actually it's almost like a homeroom. I won't call it a homeroom, but we utilize it as such very much, as far as using it to, I don't know if Garcia still does it on Monday, but it used to be Monday was grade check day, and advisory teachers would, I know ours do too. They sit there and they say, okay, guys, everybody, let's go into our hack accounts or Schoology accounts and let's check our grades, and let's talk through, who do you need to go, to tutoring with, or what's going on with this grade. And so they kind of help them. And that's sort of built in as well. And that's really important to mention. We also give you guys all the step-by-step directions almost in every newsletter that we send out. So if you, I get it. Especially if you have multiple children and you work, life is busy. And so we try to do everything we can to communicate with you, to keep you up to speed on what's going on, in the classrooms, but also getting a hack account. We always have those, like, if you don't have a hack account yet, don't worry, here's how to do it. And our secretaries at both campuses are amazing. And and if all else fails, call them. They will walk you through the entire process. So.
May I ask another question? Actually, two. What is your cell phone policy for the schools? And how do you handle your absences, both excused or unexcused?
Cell phones are so fun. So fun. So cell phone policy, we like to use them, or we like to treat cell phones as a positive tool, right? So we try not to look at these things as negative, even though a lot of times, children will utilize them for negative things. And I don't even mean, bullying or anything. I just mean being detached or disconnected from what's going on in the classroom. So we do not allow cell phones visible in the hallways, because what we tell them is you only have 4 minutes to get to your next location. And I really would rather you be socializing with people instead of your phone. Plus you'll bump into a wall or something or trip over. It's just not good practice, right? So so we don't allow cell phones in the hallway. We do allow them to keep them in their bags. We get it. Parents, I mean, I'm a mom. You may need to text your child during the day. Pickup time has changed. So-and-so is picking you up from track practice, whatever that looks like. We get that. So they absolutely can have their cell phones in their bags with them at all times. But we do not like them to be on. So like ringers, meaning like they're, because then that's a distraction in the classroom. So not pulling those cell phones out and having those cell phones on the desk, that's a big distraction. However, every single department sort of has their own cell phone policy. It doesn't differ from the campus very much, but like, let's say math, for instance. Sometimes math will be utilizing a certain, they'll use it as an educational tool. So if they'd like to, use it as an additional resource in the classroom, they can. The teachers are really good about it. Cell phones really aren't an issue. I would say they used to be 10 years ago in middle school. But I think we've all kind of adapted and we know how to use them. And these kids don't know life without them. So it's okay. Like we get it. And we really don't have a lot of issues with it. However, what I do get on the other end is parents that sometimes say, my son or daughter is saying that they have to have a device. Is this true? They do not have to have a device. Absolutely not. We have, first of all of our, students now either have a laptop or an iPad or something that they're bringing in. So that kind of covers that. But in addition, every classroom has iPads if they needed to, utilize an app for, say, like I mentioned in a math class. So it absolutely is not a necessity. It would really just be a parent wanting to give them for communication purposes. So that's the cell phone. I think you asked one other question. I'm sorry.
Yes. How do you handle apps? That was great. Thank you for the cell phone, because I like her to have her cell phone. Absences. How do you handle absences, excused and unexcused?
Miss Mina,
So
can I add one thing about the cell phone?
Yes.
Sure, just real quick. I think everything she said is exactly right, and we do the same. I think we, at this point in our cell phone evolution in middle school, is that we are just, again, teaching them how to operate with cell phones for life. Adults in meetings, we can't have our cell phone ringers on. We can't have them out. We probably shouldn't be walking around our jobs staring at screens the whole time. We want interaction with kids, and so I think that a lot of our decisions and policies are geared towards that teach piece, right? We understand that cell phones are a big part of everybody's life. Let's teach you how to use them appropriately, right? And so I think that's how I know that's how Ms. Mideles approaches it, just like we do at Garcia. So I just want to add that piece. Sorry. Go ahead.
No, that's perfect. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Absences are really, it's a district protocol. So it's the same really for any middle school. So it's 3 or more absences. We might say, hey, what's going on? Especially if they're consecutive absences, but just the same as in elementary school, when you're absent, just bring a note. And so it can be a parent note or it can be a doctor's note. If you go to the doctor, dentist, whatever that is, we do recommend you absolutely bring that note in. So none of that really has changed. We're really flexible on like taking a picture of the doctor's note and sending it straight into our attendance secretary, or just emailing our attendance secretary is always great. We've trained our teachers. So like if parents are really used to like emailing all the teachers, that's okay. The teachers will communicate that to the attendance secretary as well. So attendance is a real big, it's important, I'll say, on campuses. So we have one administrator who, that is one of her main jobs, is attendance and just really corresponding with families whenever if that becomes out of hand. Now it's very different. There's a whole nother, attendance animal now with, there being virtual world and in-person world and Schoology and all of that fun stuff. But I know that will be, changing a bit in this upcoming school year. So right now, absences are, if they can't be at school right now in person, then as long as they are logging into Zoom and making sure that they are, engaged in learning and turning their assignments in, we've kind of added that additional piece to not being absent, right? That's amazing. That's a positive. I can't say that it'll be exactly the same next year. I don't know what that looks like, but I promise you, whatever it is, we will make sure you know, and we'll be doing what's best for kids at the end of the day.
Excellent, thank you.
I have a quick question. You mentioned earlier that when the children go to middle school, they are assigned a counselor, and that counselor is with them for the 3 years. I had the fortunate experience of going to 4 different Northside schools between middle school and high school. I moved from Rudder to Stinson when Stinson opened up, and transitioned from Clark to Health Careers during my sophomore year. But I got to say that the guidance counselors at both of those receiving schools were amazing, and being able to click with them is super important. If the child doesn't have a good relationship with that guidance counselor, is it possible to switch at any point in time?
Oh, sure, I'll speak. That doesn't happen. That is very rare, but absolutely. If there was an issue of any kind, I would like to probably first know and try to see if there was some sort of miscommunication as to why they, didn't prefer that counselor and would prefer another one. But at the end of the day, it really is about making sure that the child is comfortable, especially with their counselor, and the parents. And so that I would have no problem doing that if that's what was best for the family and for the situation.
Exactly right. And all our counseling teams work as a team. So just because one is assigned doesn't mean that's the only one they will ever see or ever talk to. Sometimes they share groups, sometimes they share guidance lessons. So there's a lot of team concept there. And so, it's not just one counselor and you can't see anybody else. So, they really get that, group team approach, right? From a counseling team. And I think that's really important because like Ms. Mirella said, sometimes maybe they prefer another counselor and this, that, and the other. And so we always want to accommodate the needs of our kids. So absolutely agreed.
All right, thank you.
Well, I know it's 9:15 and I want to honor both Sherry and Mark's time as well as my counselor's time. They have to get back to their respective campuses and classrooms. So I just want to thank all of our families for attending today. We're very grateful for your interest and your support. And no, Dr. Lopez and Ms. Morales, all of our 4th and 5th grade parents are very interested, and I will be sharing this with all of our families as we make these transitions. And we're grateful that you carved out the time this morning to be part of this. So, and thank you again to our families. And I'll go ahead and end the meeting. And again, have a wonderful weekend ahead, and we'll be talking to you all soon.
Thank you for having us. Appreciate
Bye.
it.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sherry and Mark, very much for being part of this. We
Yeah, thank
appreciate
you,
it.
Ursula. It was fun. Thank you.
It was great. Guys, have
Bye.
a wonderful
See you
day.
guys. Take
Bye-bye.
care.
Thanks.
Have a good
Bye.
weekend.